on. And it truly is like that. It's like that, but I'm trying to think about it the way he does, in the sense that I'm like, I don't want to just let it be something that I learned how to do and like moved on. I'm trying to actually like,
it's also a great point to bring up that like, you know, you saying that like, you know, just working out should release endorphins and all, but mentioning that like you not necessarily having like a goal that can be obtained that you can see is very different. And we kind of touched on this a little bit last night when we were having a conversation talking about like, specifically with circus artists, you know, if you have like an audition or a show that you're a part of or you're, you know, auditioning for, you have this goal to obtain. So like you work for a long period of time, and it's like, okay, like that's what you're working towards. And then once you get it, oftentimes when you're performing, you know, you might be doing a little bit less conditioning that you're used to, because a lot of your like workout is from so many shows throughout the day or throughout the week.
Because all you're doing is maintenance.
So you're just doing a lot of like maintenance stuff after that. But then once you finish that, now like you just finished that goal, you just, you know, complete it. And now you don't necessarily, unless you have another goal set for you as soon as you're done with that one that you just finished, you still should be keeping up with your maintenance and should be like, and going back to trying to build on your, you know, build muscle, build
and gain
tricks.
new skills.
Yeah, exactly. But it becomes very difficult because now you don't have, if you don't have another set goal, you're just doing it just to do it, just to keep up with yourself, just to, you know.
That's where the benefit of a coach comes in.
Yes, I do believe
which
that's true.
I've never really needed a coach like that, but I understand how some people like.
Yeah, it was really beneficial. Like when I was either a part of a company or like, and having to like consistently be at a practice, like that was always helpful. Or just being around people to train and doing like group trainings and stuff, and like being like, oh, I know like this person like me and that person always trains every day at this time. Like, you know, we're always there to train, or right before my class.
I
like
feel
I
like
always
it
have to be,
feels
you know,
good to have like some sort of accountability with others.
Yeah.
That way, because I know for a fact that when I'm training, when I'm learning, not training, because I'm nowhere near that kind of like ability yet, but when I'm learning with Sam, anything that I learn with Sam, whether it be stretching, whether it be learning how to stretch, whether it be climbing the goddamn pole, a turn, or whatever it may be, a spin, it feels very different than, because to me, my end goal at that moment is Sam, if that makes any sense. Or because she is the utmost, a bit like somebody physically there who literally has already mastered what it is that I'm looking to master.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's a goal that I'm trying to essentially achieve, because I think it's very easy to compare, as when you are in the field that you're in, it's really easy to compare yourself to somebody who's already done it, who already knows what they're doing. And you're like, how do I get there?
Sure.
Like it doesn't matter how their life is going or any of that sense. It's just, how do I get that skill to look like that? Right. The way this person flawlessly does this. Maybe and sometimes you think, I don't really want to get there, but I want to get somewhere close. Or you're like, no, I want to get there and I want to do it better, or I want to do it just as good, whatever it may be.
What I've realized that has become like a really crazy like thing that I don't think I ever thought of, like as a mental side of achieving that stuff. Like I've achieved a lot of the goals that I had, and then like, you know, for a long time it was just when I had never done silks before, I was like, I just want to be able to climb the silks. I just want to be able to, you know, have a nice straddle up on the silks and not have to like use the silks to push myself up with my feet, you know? And now it's like I'm able to do all of that stuff, but then I got to a point that was just like a baseline for me, and I was doing stuff above that. Yeah. And like, you know, my tricks were above that. So then all of a sudden when people see me, and there are people that look up and they say, wow, like that, you know, you have a great straddle, and like they want to, and they
emulate it. Yeah.
You know, but knowing that's like, yeah, that straddle is like good and all, but like that used to just be whatever for me. All of a sudden, like somebody trying to, I guess, praise you for those things, if like you're not at the point that you were at, is kind of like, yeah, it's good, but you don't understand what it could be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I feel like I've gotten a lot into that, like, even while people will like praise me for something, I'll still, for instance, I was at like Kroger, and there was just a random woman that like came up to me and told me, she's like, wow, like, you know, I love your build, like your build on your body. And I was like, oh, thank you. And I was like, very sweet. And, you know, I thanked her and everything. And I walked away. But then in my head, I was like, yeah,
but
I mean,
I want
like,
it better.
but like, it's not, you know, it's not where it was.
Yeah.
You know?
Or yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know where it could be.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I
so then even that praise sometimes starts to be like self-deprecating.
It jabs
self-deprecating.
Yeah. So
I am not good with praise. When people praise me, I'm not good at receiving that information. Not because like this is where like the difference between confidence and arrogance comes in. Because I don't think that I'm an arrogant person, but I am a very confident person. Mm-hmm. So if you put me around people that are really competent, I'm like, I can be in this room. Mm-hmm. But if you put me around people that are not as competent doing the same thing that I'm trying to do, then I will bleed into the background. Yeah. I won't show off. Yeah. I'm like, that's cool. Like, no, it's not a big deal. Like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Like, I don't have to be the fucking star of the room.
Right.
I'm just going to be
but
here.
when people praise me, I'm always like, I get like weirdly, what's the word? Like
shy almost.
Shy.
Like, yeah.
I get weirdly shy. I don't get self-deprecating, but I get weirdly shy because I'm just like, I don't know how to tell you to receive it, or to say thank you, or to like say like it was better, or like, you know what I mean, or it was that so I get more shy than anything whenever I get praise. I'm always just like, thanks, and then, you know, it's bye.
Yeah, and I definitely feel that. I definitely get that shyness when people, like, and I feel like that's like my normal go-to. But then when I am struggling and like things aren't, and I'm like having like a little bit of a low, that's when I'll start getting, and I never want to like be that person that like, you know, somebody praises me and then I like, so I don't like say it out loud in the moment and whatnot, but like I will think in my own head and I'm like, you know, I tell them thank you and whatnot, and then afterwards I'm like, yeah, but not really. Like, and I keep, you know, and I don't allow myself to accept it. That's what it is. Even if somebody praises me, I don't allow myself to accept it
to accept the praise.
Yeah, because I'm like, yeah, but they don't know what I used to.
Question. This, you know? and this will, I don't mean to put you on blast, but anything, but this will probably be the biggest indicator about like that like shift in perspective that you're talking about. Is I would think it's okay for you not to be able to accept the praise if you also do the same thing with the criticism. If you internalize the criticism but you don't internalize the praise, then I think you're being self-deprecating. Yeah. If you hear the praise and you don't internalize it because you're like, it could be this, but then you hear the criticism and you're like, you don't internalize it because you're like, but you don't know what you're talking about, then it's like, all right, yeah, you're pretty evened out. Like, you know what I mean? But if you will accept the criticism but you won't accept the praise, then that maybe the perspective needs to change.
Yeah,
there.
no, I definitely,
you know what I mean?
I think I definitely accept the criticism unless it's like coming from somebody that I think is just being nasty just for the sake of being nasty. Because I've definitely had people that I'm like, you're just trying to like poke at me. It's not necessarily, you know. But I'll definitely like take criticism from other people and from myself.
The criticism will eat at you more than the praise will lift you up.
Yes,
yeah, and sure. I think that's where people, most people, and I don't struggle with that. If you criticize me, I'm like, okay, I don't feel like any sort of like intimidation or any
here nor there with.
TikTok's a good example because they be going a ham on these comments on like all of us,
everything,
and then just, you know, good, bad, middle ground or whatever, right? And like I'll hear people say things about me, and I'm like, I'm none fazed.
Yeah, and
but I'll hear people say good things, and I'm still not phased. Yeah. So it makes me think that it makes me feel like I'm pretty clear-headed in terms of like my goal is not that. Yeah. My goal is not to receive the praise or to receive the criticism. My goal is still that thing that I'm trying to get to over there. And none of it, nothing from A to B coming in, good or bad, is going to change that.
See,
you know what I mean?
And to me, which is interesting, like I like hearing praises. So like I like being told that you're doing a good job.
Who doesn't?
But I'm a person who usually always deflects it and is like, you know, we're all doing a good job. Like, sure. Like at my job, like for instance, or with my kid is, for instance, because
that's so funny. I'm the opposite. I'll finish and I'll tell you
because
why.
a lot of fucking people like to be like, oh my God, you're doing so good with your kid. And I'm like, yeah, but like, it's not just me, right? And they're like, no, but it is you. And I'm like,